So we are now moving into the final topic of the event. This is a Measuring Total video, and here to discuss how we can drive better outcomes from Foxtel is Nev Hasan. So please give Nev a very warm welcome.
Thank you. Cool. Afternoon all. Second from last up, get to talk to you all about the exciting world of measurement and our journey on that. So firstly, thank you. I'm going to take you through the story and a sort of our measurement mission. But before I do, I want to start with a thank you, because what we've managed to achieve in 12 months, and it's not a journey that's ended, it's one that's just started, is we've got almost every agency on board, every client on board, and the only way we can do that is with the help of partners, clients, agencies. And I've got to give a shout out to my team. And before you ask, no, there's no reviews on your revenue, on your salaries. That's part of the role. But genuinely, we couldn't have got to where we've got to without that help. But how did it all start? So what did we do? Where did we go to? So we knew that there was volatility in the panel from our end. We knew that we were seeing duplication in our linear audience, which in some areas was bouncing up and down. And we proactively looked to establish how we could change that. We reached into Oztown. We wanted to work on that volatility, but we couldn't get the change to move as quick as we wanted to. And unfortunately, it became a very public affair. I won't bore everyone because I think everyone's been on that journey. But when it starts coming out into the public, we knew then and there we had to drive that agenda ourselves, and we had to take that leap forward. So what did we do? We engaged with Kantar. We moved from 1,200 STV panel, and we opened up the million set-top boxes that we have IP connected. Now we've got 1 million set-top boxes generating real-time data about audience consumption, viewing habits, ratings, etc. And we knew that that was a powerful tool. And it's great to see big data sets are now being spoke about, because big data does provide better accuracy when you are looking more at those smaller audiences. So that's the way we sort of started that journey. We knew we had to get some level of reliability, and we knew we had to move forward. But how did it start? 2023 March, we engaged with Kantar. We knew sport was the pillar. So this sport was our key lever. We were getting initial ratings that sport would lose $20 million on television just alone. And sport is one of the backbones of our platform. It's the content that we invest so much in. So we had to move quick on that. So we engaged Kantar, and I give them credit. Within 12 months, we stood up a solution. We had it live in market. It wasn't perfect. It was a little bit handheld, but it meant that when we were going into negotiations and talking about sports sponsorships, we weren't talking about $20 million worth of decline. We were talking about almost flat audiences. And I think everyone in the room agrees sport, and live sport in particular, is one of those last platforms that is still seeing consistent audience delivery. We then worked with 2 years worth of back data. Kantar went off, generated 2 years, and we brought agencies on that journey. We started with the sponsors. We took them through how the data was different, what the numbers were saying. We gave them every permutation that we could think to get them on board. And to their credit, they all signed up. They all came on board. A couple of lessons, and I'll come back to this slide later. We should have gone earlier with planning. We should have been the first people we spoke to was the system people to integrate within planning tools. Because if you get into upstream planning first, it then can deliver the revenue upside once you go live with a product. So when we went and just said, here's the data, we should have integrated that. Another key learning, don't ever launch a new measurement system the same time VOZ is launching. Agencies only have so much capability. So we patiently waited for the VOZ piece to get our piece up and running. And that then meant we were delayed on some of the integrations with MediaOcean. But I'll come back to that slide. But what was the impact it had? We didn't just do this for the sake of it. We wanted to do this to actually drive value back to our clients. It wasn't just about us saying we can make more money. It was about us showcasing the value we can deliver to clients with the new data sets that we've had. And I think we were pretty impressed. We knew that 38% of our inventory, and I think Franny spoke about this last year, had donuts, 0 rated. All spots now have a rating behind it. I'm not saying those ratings are hundreds of thousands of people. We found that the majority of our audiences between 1 and 2,000 were the ones that were being discounted. But when you add up all of those individual spots, they actually create a huge audience pool that's just being left on the table and it's not being reported. We knew that the panel worked well for larger ratings, but it's the smaller ones. We saw our impacts increase between 20 to 30%. We saw reach, and I know a lot of people speak about reach, and it's still a key thing, and I'll talk about the outcomes towards the end, increased by 30%, which was adding 2 to 3 points of incremental reach. And for those that have planned and bought STV, that used to be our bread and butter. It was the incremental audiences we provide to clients, and when that was not being reported, we saw a 20% drop in our audience on the previous method. That was the key thing that had to drive more change. And what did we see from the sport position first? Because we'll start with that. AFL was up 14% on average audiences, NRL 6%. But the number that really matters, and the work that we do when we integrate brands, we don't interrupt live sport. We do some amazing integration within that, but it's our back pages. It's the bespoke integration that lives on the programming around live sport. And that's the value that was being left, the biggest value that was being left on the table. We saw a 48% increase in average audiences. Now, if you've got clients integrated into Matty John's and that audience is plus 43%, that was value that wasn't being attributed to that sponsorship. And that was a key lever for us. But I think the more exciting bit is when we launched it across the wider network. So yes, 2024, we went live with sport. And in Jan this year, we went live on the wider network. This was the real impact we started to see on campaigns. Across FMCG, 25-54, we added 52% reach on the previous OzTam methodology. That's massive. That's moving from 200, say just under 300,000 to 400 plus. It's a big number there. When we look at it on our finance clients, people 25-54, that's 51% increase on your campaign. Again, that's audiences that are being left on the table. And when we look at auto, 60. If you look at the individual between 2, 4.3 and 2.8 of incremental reach, which isn't being measured, which is today. Again, that's the value that we wanted to bring back. Now with that, we know there's challenges. We know there was disruption. And again, I do need to say thank you to the agencies. When I said sports sponsorships are going to be on Kantar, but we're now going to launch it across the wider network, I got a couple of, can you just keep it the same? I said, can you replace $20 million of revenue for me? They said, no. Well, I said, then we're going to change. They said, with VOZ launching, it's a lot at the same time for us to manage. For those in the room, we were driving to get the Kantar linear full network solution live by September, but we were just delayed as we sort of waited for the VOZ integration. We get it. That project's been in the build for 3 years. We can't just suddenly come to market 12 months before our deadline and go, we need it to go first. So we were there, but it was a lot. But what we wanted to make sure is we provided value back. Since Jan to date, we've got 115% delivery across all of our linear campaigns, on average. I think that's a pretty powerful number. And when we know audiences on linear are bouncing, guaranteed delivery, no Jess, not going to say the word guaranteed, but audience delivery is key. So we're giving that back. In terms of market value in those first 3 months, $4.2 million of value has been given back in terms of supporting that transition. I'm not naive here. I can't ask you to move onto a new platform and not provide some value back. But because we've now got additional inventory, we've got more flex, we can deliver that greater value back. And that was a key thing that we wanted to make sure. We know it was painful, but hopefully the results that we're delivering on your campaigns are helping. But what was the journey with the agencies? So this was the progression we had to make. Everyone knows Q1 Sport went live. We had about 9 months to get the fully integrated end-to-end platform live. That was across all of our linear channels, not just sport. We started the agency integration work in Q2 of 24. We were working with MediaOcean to have the Kantar data live, and I'll admit we missed the deadline. In a perfect world, we wanted the agencies to have at least 3 to 4 months of side-by-side OzTam, Kantar ratings so they could measure it themselves. But there was delays, so we just had to sort of wait on that. We went live Jan 1. We also had the deadline looming of a contract with OzTam expiring. Again, in a perfect world, we would have started that journey longer. But what I do not regret is moving at speed, because that speed meant it pushed us to get the product live with the agencies. We're working with all of the TPSs. We get that we need to integrate into more tools, and we are working on a full solution. The other piece that's important is throughout this whole journey, we've provided reporting at every single stage. And this looks boring, these are charts, they're manual, but at no point were we not providing agencies information. When we went live with sport, we appreciated that data was not available in your agency tools. The sport team are building handheld Excel schedules, drawing the data out of the system, sending it. Every sports sponsorship was tracked. When we went live with linear, we weren't integrated and live within all agency tools. So we had all these individual spreadsheets, Excels being sent. Again, I've got to give a thank you to the team because they've had to take this burden. But the key point is it was never a walled garden. There was never a point you, as agencies and clients, didn't know how your campaigns were delivering because we were fully transparent on that journey. Where are we at today? 3 out of the 5 major consortiums have got all of the linear data integrated into their planning tools. The remaining 2 are at the final stages. That means they can start to plan reach curves using Kantar data. So that, again, is one of the key learnings. Should have gone early with that versus later, but that's all integrated. We want to work with all the indies, and we're finding better ways for you to be able to provide true reach curves using Kantar data. Minute by Minute is now available within TechEdge. We've been open and providing TechEdge licenses to those key agencies, and we're working with the IMAA to have that technology available. Again, it's not necessarily within your current tools, but it means that now, today, you can look at reach and frequency on a post using the TechEdge technology. And we are working with the existing agency tools. We're working with the likes of Day 8. We accept that agencies have current workflows and may not want to change everything up. So we're integrating and we're working with those platforms because we want to keep the workflow as easy as possible so you continue to invest within our platforms. But I think when you look back on it in 12 months, it's pretty good work that we've done to have this stage and be at this point in the journey. But more importantly, where do we go next? We've currently got system integrations with the likes of Mad Clarity. So all your auditing requirements can be delivered. They've got the Kantar data, they're able to see the post. We're working on industry endorsement. We have been nothing but transparent. We're currently working with the MFA. We've provided all of the insights, all the methodology, and we're waiting for feedback and their tick of approval. So again, we're being really transparent on how we've built that data set. We are working with the VFC. Toby mentioned it earlier today on a proof of concept utilizing Kantar. We're looking at the ways that we can sort of standardize Kantar as a measurement platform and integrate across that. But where I see real value for us, selfishly as a network, is our total solution, linking all of our million set-top boxes with our digital footprint. And the idea then of bringing all of those solutions into one place, but ultimately bringing those solutions into one place to allow us to feed that into agencies. When we've got our total network view that we can then attribute to age, gender, attribution, likelihood to purchase, behavioral segments, and plug that in, that becomes a powerful data set. And having that solution means we can start working more on outcome-based buying, not simply CPM. The likes of our Agile partnership and CommBank IQ means we now want to talk more about outcomes. I see the measurement bit and the CPM and the impressions as the hygiene. That's just the general day-to-day. Where we want to work with as an industry is about outcome-based. That's where we know we can really move the dial. And when we can talk outcomes, we can then talk about your brands actually driving purchase, uplift and better insights. And that's the exciting bit. And that's the most important thing for us to work with this team and all of our agencies and clients on tomorrow. I started the Prezzo with a thank you. I'm going to end it. Because again, this change was not possible. I've burnt up so many favors with agency partners to get this solution live. I can't wait for next year's negs. But I do want to say thank you, because without you coming on the journey, we wouldn't have been possible to deliver the mission today. So thanks.